is the Couples Corner. The Couples Corner. This is the Couples Corner. With Team Evans. This is the Couples Corner. The Couples Corner.
The Couples Corner with Team Bevins of I Still Do Ministries every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is another episode, and today you will get some good information, some great nuggets, and some tools to strengthen your relationship. The Couples Corner with Team Bevins.
This is the Couples Corner.
Party people, party people, party people. How y'all feeling, man? Welcome to the Couples Corner. I am Marcus, and this is my wonderful wife,
Cherie.
And we are happy to be in the Couples Corner tonight. Glad to have my wife back with me in the Couples Corner. Enjoyed last week's show with the husbands.
Shout out to the husbands.
Yeah.
Y'all did a great show.
Fellas held it down. But we are... we're in this Couples Corner tonight, and so we have a very important subject matter that we need to deal with, something that does not get enough attention, and so we're gonna deal with it tonight. And I'm gonna pray, and then we're gonna jump into that. So for those of you who are tuning in by Mix Station Radio, welcome. For those of you who are with us via social media,
Welcome.
you are welcome as well. We're glad that you are here with us. And so why don't you share this, invite some other people to the conversation, because tonight we definitely are going to need to hear your input and to get some feedback from you guys, because this is pretty serious what we're doing tonight. So let's pray. Father, we thank you for another opportunity to be in the Couples Corner. We thank you for every person that is in the Couples Corner with us, people who have gathered together tonight, that we may share, oh God. We thank you, Lord, that you will be in the midst, and we thank you that you will provide tools and nuggets that we can use to bring about strength in our relationships, oh God, tools that will bring success to our relationships. We thank you, Lord, that every person that is a part of this conversation tonight, Lord, that they will be able to benefit from it as well as be able to add to it. So we look forward to what you're going to do in the Couples Corner tonight. We thank you, God, that you do all things well, and we appreciate you, Lord, for the avenue and the doors that you open, oh God, that people may be able to gather together to get knowledge, insight, and to share and fellowship and to grow together. And we just thank you for that. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Hey, how's everybody doing? For all of you who are, joining with us again on the app, on Mix Station, thank you all. For those who are with us on social media, how y'all feeling? So listen, we're going to jump into tonight's conversation, and tonight's topic is nonverbal communication. Now, this is something that we do not hear enough about, and because of that, there is a lot that goes on with nonverbal communication, and it's something that is very important, and it has the potential to create a lot of damage if it is not properly handled. So this nonverbal communication, we have to learn how to master it, because if we don't, it can do some damage. And it's funny because most people feel like, and their statement usually is, well, I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything, or you're assuming you didn't hear me say that. You didn't, so because that is something that happens often, we have to make sure that we create an environment in our communication with our spouses that does not offend. And that is difficult because honestly, most people don't even know their nonverbal communication skills. So we don't really know what we do. We don't really pay attention to ourselves when it comes to our nonverbal communication. We don't really pay attention to, what our tendencies are. We don't pay attention to, those things that we do, or those things that can happen that can create an environment that is not conducive to being effective when it comes to our relationship and our communication. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight, nonverbal communication. And before I let my wife jump in, because she's always got some nuggets and good stuff to drop with us, I'm gonna put a question on the table, and we're gonna build off of this question tonight. And that question tonight is the first question that we put on the table is, how well do you listen? How well do you listen? And I know that you're thinking like, well, I listen well, but I'm talking in terms of not just your ability to hear, but how well do you listen, and what does your listening look like? What does your listening look like? How well do you listen? That's the first question that we have on the table tonight. And I definitely want to hear from you all on how you think you listen. If you know your listening skills and you know what you do and how you do it, that would be great. I would love to hear if you think you know your listening posture. And I want some of you to chime in with your mates and how they listen, because honestly, some of this we're going to need to hear from your mate, because you're going to think that you do everything right. I can promise you that, because most people ain't walking around saying, oh, I suck. But you're going to think you do everything right, and we really going to need to hear from your other half to find out some of these things that you think and if they agree. So that's going to be pretty interesting tonight, and I'm definitely looking forward to hearing some of that. So babe, you jump in there, but that's the question on the table. So, how well do you listen?
So if you would like to call in, you can call 1-855-493-6499, or you can type your questions, comments on Facebook if you're with us on Facebook. But if you're on Facebook and you want to call in, please, we love to hear your voice and not read your questions or comments. So, of course, we're talking about nonverbal communication. And normally we do not know what we do. Marcus and I kind of have a little joke going back and forth about the things we do when each other's talking or something start happening stressful or something like that. So we'll just do a gesture or something like that. But you don't know that you do it unless someone tells you or says to you, why are you doing that? Or why are you frowning your face? Or why are you rubbing your head? Or whatever. What does that mean? And then, then you start to notice what your nonverbal communication is. Right. So, his question is, how well do you listen? And we're waiting for you to answer. And my question is, what do you do nonverbally that your spouse dislikes because they have told you before, and have you worked on it? So, meaning if you're having a conversation and you're not, some people like eye contact, but you're doing something else. You're looking down, or you're frowning or something like that. And your spouse is like, why do you frown every time we're talking? Right. Is that your listening face or what? What's going on here? Right. But what do you do nonverbally that you think you possibly need to work on? Or, and I want to know the likes too. We're going to the likes later. Okay. We're going to deal with the dislikes right now. So, I want to know what you all do, but I want to say that it's important that we are aware of what our bodies are doing when we are communicating. Right. That is very important. Yeah. And not that we're just aware of what our spouse does, but we need to become aware. So because we do this little thing, and he does me and I do him, I am kind of aware now, like, don't do that, Cherie. Don't put your hand up there. Don't breathe hard. Don't sigh 10 times. Like, whatever you do, like, just keep your face straight, Yeah. Don't twitch your mouth, whatever it is. Because once somebody starts doing that back, and maybe that can be your homework. I haven't given y'all homework in a long time for the Facebook audience. Mixed Station, I don't think I gave homework since I've been here. But I haven't given you homework in a long time. Maybe that can be your homework. When your spouse is talking, do what they normally do when you're talking. Right. or whatever it is. And this doesn't have to be bad, because all the things that Marcus and I do is not bad, but it's just funny, the things that you do in certain situations. Like, okay, you're going to rub your head 2 times if I tell you this. Or you're going to breathe real hard, like, So but you need to be aware of that, because actions speak louder than words is a true statement.
Yeah.
And yes, we talk about communication all the time here, and we never really talk about nonverbal, but today we decided to talk about nonverbal because that is a very important part of some of the stressors that we have in our marriage. Definitely. And sometimes a gesture doesn't mean what you think it means. So you need to communicate about that verbally. Like, so what does it mean? Why do you always hunch your shoulders, or why are you always tense when I'm talking about that? Oh, that's just the way I sit. If anybody knows me, y'all know I'm transparent. Sometimes I sit with my shoulders up. Like, I have really big, broad shoulders. So sometimes I sit with my shoulders up, but it's nothing wrong. I'm just like, oh, and then when my children say, Mom, put your shoulders down, then I do it. It's just like something I do intense. Like, I'm ready to, I don't know, move. I don't know. I've always did it. Maybe they dropped me when I was little. I don't know. But, that's something I always do. And people would think, like, why is she got her shoulders up? Like, she could care less or whatever. But if you tell me, or if you say something like, why are your shoulders up? Are you okay? Then I'll release it. And it actually helps me because it's tension.
Right.
So I'll release it. But I never knew I did that for a long time till I had a friend say it. Then my family said it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, so your nonverbal communication is very key, because it can hurt things sometimes.
Yeah.
So you need to really communicate about that. We talk about verbal communication all of the time, but what do you do non-verbally that your spouse dislikes? And please, you can talk to us on Facebook if you're with us on Facebook. The questions that are on the table are, how well do you listen? Okay, how well do you listen, and what does that listening face look like? And then my question is, what do you do non-verbally that your spouse dislikes? And have you tried to change it, or do you think of it when you're communicating now? Because that will start to be in every conversation now. You'll start thinking, like, do I just do this to him or her, or is this just me?
Right.
Like my shoulder thing. My shoulders, it doesn't matter who it is. My shoulders could be just up just for no reason. But I don't even know why. I literally do not know why I do that. But if you tell me, like, put your shoulders down, then I'm like, okay. But that's not just to Marcus. That's not like, oh, I don't really want to hear what you say, so I'm trying to cover my ears. No.
Right.
But so tell me, tell us, call in 1-855-493-6499. Talk to us about nonverbal communication and what it does for you, because, when you walk into a room, before you speak, you communicate.
Yep.
With your body language. Same, if you're going into a meeting, before you probably get a chance to say hello, people see you coming at your job or whatever, you're communicating. If the morning was rough, you communicated that already.
Right.
So in your home, it is no different. If you are having a conversation, just a regular conversation, or you're having a conversation because you're trying to settle an issue, you have communicated non-verbally. And so I just want y'all to think about that, how that has impacted your relationship, and how you can change what you can change, like I can put my shoulders down if that bothers him. I just have to keep telling myself to do it, because you don't know you do it.
Right.
And so some of these things you really don't mean any harm. I believe that, but I believe that we don't put the verbal communication to it to figure out what does that mean.
Right.
And so you're nervous or you're stressed out to speak to your spouse about a certain thing, because he always, pulls his ear every time I do that, and he's just like, no, since I was little, this comforts me. You know what I'm saying? So you just gotta find out why this goes on, and then just, I have an aunt who takes her shirt and rubs it, like on her top lip or her nose, something like that.
Right.
Right. And you might think something stink, or, what's she trying to say, but you don't ask her. She's been doing this. This is just her comfort measure. This is just what she's been doing since she was younger, probably a toddler. So she does it. At this young age, she is now.
Yeah.
So, you could think anything, but if you don't ask her, so one day I'm like, why do you keep doing that to your shirt? And all of your shirts stretched out right there because you do it.
Right.
And then she can explain why she is doing that communication. So don't just think, your spouse is squinting at you because they don't want to hear what you have to say. They need glasses.
Right.
This is true stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I'm real. I'm being real. Marcus didn't always wear glasses like me. And then I didn't always wear my glasses, so now I have to wear them. But, so, one day he was just, I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that with your eyes? But if I never said nothing, I'm like, oh, he mad because I'm talking about this or whatever.
Right.
You need to have verbal communication to find out what the nonverbal means, if that makes sense to you all.
Mm-hmm.
So call in and tell me about this nonverbal communication. The questions on the table is, how well do you listen? And another question is, what do you do nonverbally that your spouse dislikes and because they've told you? And have you tried to change it? Body language, gesture, breathing, something that you do that's just they can't, heavy sighs, like they cannot, that they just like, why do you do that all the time? Or have you communicated that this will take a minute to change because this has been, since I was born, I've been doing this?
So I since we're talking about listening, I saw a quote earlier today that I told my wife about that I found to be very interesting. Now, how factual and, the data to support it, not positive of that. But the quote was, we hear only half of what is said to us. We understand only half of that. Believe only half of that. And then only remember half of that. So if we really look at the way that we listen, oftentimes we can't recall a lot of the stuff that's said to us because we really are not listening. We will give those fake nods, like you're listening. You'll give those sporadic uh-huhs. You have some people who have like key sayings that let you know that they're not listening. You
yes,
talking to them,
they not listening.
You talking to them, and they like, that's crazy. Like,
yes, yes,
that's crazy. And you try to figure out, you like, what's crazy? Like, I didn't even say anything that would warrant that type of response. But you like, that's crazy. But it's you got to know, you have to know how people listen, and then you have to be very cognizant yourself of how you listen and how you pay attention to information that's being presented to you, because if we aren't, there's a lot that we will miss. Like me and my wife, we go through it all the time. We'll talk about something, and then later both of us will say something about something that either she says, she'll say it, and I'm like, really? She like, we had a whole conversation about it. I was like, are you sure?
He said, that's crazy.
Are you sure? Right. I was like, that's crazy. What wasn't doing my good listening. You know what I'm saying? Or we'll talk about something. She like, well, you should have told her. I'm like, we had a whole conversation about it. She like, no, I don't remember that. Yeah, you might not remember it, but we had the conversation. So those kinds of things happen. But honestly, that comes from us not listening. You know what I'm saying? That comes from the way that we listen or the choices that we make during listening that, really can have a major effect in, the way that we see things or the way that we do things. And that is big because, for instance, real talk, people are assessing your relationship off of your nonverbal, not off your verbal.
Yeah.
So they are making an assumption of your entire relationship based off of the body language that you and your mate have when they talk. So, and I'm sure that you can attest that you've seen that before. You see two people talking and their body language toward each other tell you it's friction. You know what I mean? It's trouble in paradise by the way that they're talking to each other, their facial expression, their body language, all of that is displaying that I'm going to go through this because people are watching, but you're telling that everything ain't right. And that's because of nonverbal communication. It's your posture. It's the way that you're looking. It's the way that your facial expressions that you're making while someone else is talking to you, or the facial expressions that you're making while you're talking. I don't know how many of you, you know, you make faces while you talk, or you even make faces while you listen, and you're just displaying that you're stupid, you know, based off of the way that you listen, or even the way that you talk to people. Some people don't know that they're condescending when they talk to people. They don't know that their facial expression and their body language, you know, can be dominating to other people, or try to, you know, control them with your body language, or you can control them with your response. You know, you're trying to have a conversation with the person that you're in a relationship with, and then they got their arms folded, and they're not looking at you, or they're preoccupied with the TV, or with their phone, or with whatever it is that, you know, they have to allow them to not give their full attention. And then you're like, are you listening to me? And they're like, yeah, I'm listening. Or if you stop talking, you know, like we've done that plenty of times. We could be having a conversation and feel like the other person isn't doing their good listening, and just stop talking, and just see how long it takes for the person to realize that you're not even talking no more. And then when they do realize it, they don't even say anything like, why you stop right in the middle of a sentence, or why you, I mean, that lets you know they really wasn't listening. They was just waiting for you to stop talking. But it's like, you know, those are nonverbal communication skills, and many of us, if we would, you know, really be honest, our nonverbal communication skills aren't great, and you can pay attention to that in your entire life, because your nonverbal communication skills, the thing that I've learned is the way that you are in your relationship is going to be the sum total of how you are in life. So, you know, you can't act your whole life. At some point, the real you is going to show up. So somewhere. even if in your dating process, you know, you giving the representative, and you acting like you know, you Miss Wonderful or Mr. Kind, or whatever the case, or you're always a gentleman, or you're always attentive, or you're whatever, you know, showing the representative because you're trying to impress. But then after your novelty has worn off, then you turn into the real you, and the person is like, well, whoa, what happened to you being so caring? What happened to you being so loving? What happened to you being so considerate, or whatever those things are or were? But, you know, sometimes when those things happen, you kind of take a step back, and then it makes you assess, like, okay, where we are now, were we in this same place a year ago? Were we in the same place 6 months ago? Were we in the same place 4 months ago? And not that you should not grow or evolve, but I'm talking about you've made some drastic changes that are displaying the real you when I thought that I knew the real you. And trust me, this is not something that only happens when you just meet somebody and y'all just start talking and you just start dating and you got, you know, a little time on your hands that you've been dealing with each other. But this is something that can go a good distance, where, you know, you can be some years into your relationship before the real them shows up, and before the real them start responding or reacting. You know, you can look at people's body language and how they react and how they respond to certain people, how they react and respond to different family members, or, you know, different events or settings that you have to go to or go in, or the mentioning of people's name or whatever. It's just kind of like, okay. So, you know, you didn't say anything, but your body language or your facial expression let me know you really don't care for that person, or you don't really care for the relationship that me and that person have, or whatever, because your body, you didn't say any words, but your face is telling the whole story. You know, your body language is telling the whole story. And that's why, like, a key example with our body language, when you think that you're not displaying anything, but all day long everybody keeps asking you, what's wrong with you? And you keep saying nothing. Why everybody talking about? You're showing that. This is what you are giving me. I'm only saying to you what you're showing and displaying to me. So if people are constantly asking you what's wrong with you, or they're constantly asking you, you know, did something happen or whatever, it's because that's what you're wearing. That's the outfit that you're giving with your face and with your body language. And that's nonverbal communication. So sometimes, honestly, we can miss out on some things. And this goes in so many areas. And we're talking about it from the relationship aspect because, like I said, the sum total of who you are is what's going to be displayed in your relationship. But this happens in business. This happens in family. You know, this happens in friendship. That your nonverbal communication, you know, I don't know if you ever had anybody who the faces that they make while you're talking. You just like, what happened? What you mad about? Or why your face frowned up? Or what happened? They're like, nothing. You're like, no, something. I mean, because I'm talking to you, I'm telling you something or whatever. I'm sharing something with you, or we're dialoguing, and you look like something stink. You know what I mean? Like, what happened? Or, because that can have an effect on the dynamics of a conversation. The way that you look, the way that your face is, your demeanor during the course of a conversation can determine where this conversation goes if it takes a turn for the worse.
Sure.
So all of those things, man, are very important. And we honestly don't spend enough time doing self-evaluation. We don't do enough time doing character checkups on ourselves. We're so busy being judgmental of everybody else. We know everybody else's flaw. We know everybody else's shortcoming. We know everybody else's thing they need to work on. But if somebody were to ask you what's wrong with you, or what things do you need to work on, or what's happening, it would be very few things. Your list would be very small, because in your mind, you're perfect. In your mind, you got it together, and it's everybody else. So it's not many people that are like, the world is great. It's me. I'm just terrible. So that's really not what you're going to hear much of from an individual. So,
yeah. So call in. Again, this is a dialogue. We're not just here to preach, teach, and instruct you. We don't do that. We're having a dialogue. 1-855-493-6499, or type your comments or questions on Facebook if you're with us on Facebook. The question is, how well do you listen? And why do you what do you do non-verbally that your spouse dislikes? And are you working on it if they've told you, or are you noticing it in other conversations in other areas? So let's talk about these cell phones, right? Mm-hmm. Let's talk about this. So when somebody's talking to you, you're scrolling. You're not multitasking.
Right.
We don't multitask. Multitask, whatever, however you want to say it. We don't do that. So many people have been fooled or tricked into believe that we're doing that. We're not multitasking. That's why they stopped us from, those of us that live in those states, they stopped us from driving and texting or having something in your hand, because we don't multitask.
Right.
And the older you get, you definitely don't do that well. So if you're scrolling while somebody is talking to you, your spouse, what we're talking about tonight, then you're missing something.
Right.
Or they are, probably upset trying to figure out, well, what is going on, or why, and you like, no, I hear you. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Then you like, oh my gosh,
right.
She crazy. Oh no, go ahead. You missed something.
Right.
You missed something. You missed either their nonverbal or verbally what they were saying. Right. So if you are like, I used to be. Now listen, y'all know I always give you these real life stories. So I would pick up my phone and just scroll for no reason. I won't even be on social media. I just pick up my phone and be scrolling the apps. So when I'm in meetings or something like that, I would just pick up my phone. And one day I had to say to my supervisor, like, I'm really not doing anything. Like, if you really look over my shoulder, it's a habit that I pick up my phone and scroll. But the person who's talking in the meeting is kind of like, what's Cherie doing?
Right.
Well, she got this all together, so she don't need to listen.
Right.
No, I'm really not reading or look. So you need to put that to the side. That's not most of our cases, though. Most of us are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, something, scrolling on somebody else's life and missing what's going on in your life.
Yeah, that's the truth.
And we're all in everybody else's business instead of focusing on our own business.
Yep.
We commenting on stars and this, that, and other. And that's fine. Do that when you can do it. But when your spouse is trying to get your attention, then talk to them, or look at them, or give them that that nonverbal communication that says you have my undivided attention.
Right.
Now I don't know about y'all, but me, when I'm talking, I want your undivided attention. Like right now, I can't see y'all, so this is hard for me. This is always hard for me. I'm gonna be honest with you, because I need to know: are you listening?
Right. To
everything I'm saying? Or you just jumping in like, okay, hitting some likes or hitting some hearts. Like, if you listening right now, hit some likes, hearts. If you or mix station, call in and say, I'm listening. 1-855-493-6499, because 10 of y'all missed that.
Right.
So, hearts, likes, something. See what I'm saying? Nobody listening. So, but your nonverbal communication is very important when it comes to, picking up phone. And it might not be your phone. It might be you doodle. I doodle. So it might be, you just, somebody talking to you and just pick up something and you just start drawing or something like that,
Yeah.
And they said that means you got ADD. But, so just notice what you're doing because it's affecting your atmosphere or the people that you hold dear to you that are communicating with you. And if sometimes you may notice like, oh, maybe this is why they stopped talking to me at this time, or maybe this is why I stopped talking to them at this time, because they always picking up their pen and drawing, and that really means nothing. You just have to bring to their attention that, why do you do that? Put the pen down.
Right.
Don't snatch the pen out their hand though. Just communicate about it, okay?
Right.
Because I'm saying these little things are causing big problems. Then you snatch the pen, put that down, then we're in a whole nother conversation that we don't need to be in.
Right.
Just communicate about it verbally. But this nonverbal that we are doing is very, it's speaking loud.
It is.
It's speaking loud. It's speaking louder than the verbal communication we're having. We're doing, like right now, I'm in here talking with my hands, moving them around, all of that. If somebody was not able to see me, not able to hear me, but they could see me, then they'd be like, what is she talking about?
Right.
So even with, we're talking about spouses, or people we're in a relationship with, but even with your children, I've noticed that it's a certain way I have to talk to some of my children.
Right.
Because I intimidate them when I do certain things. But I had to learn that, because I don't mean no harm. It's just how I talk, and I'm the mother, and, whatever. So, but I get more out of them if I don't use my hands or whatever. So you have to learn some of these things you're doing that you just do, because we'll be quick to say, I've been doing this. Like I told y'all, my shoulders. I've had my shoulders up for my whole life. But my kids are like, Mom,
chill,
relax yourself. Everything's okay. And so, but somebody else may have taken that wrong. I don't know. Throughout my life, somebody else may have taken that wrong. People used to tell me, you have a face that's unapproachable. What would you like me to do? Walk around and smile all day? Maybe I can do that. Maybe that will help. I don't know. But if you're not communicating this stuff to your spouse, then, you will continue to feel a certain way and they won't know why.
Right.
Or they won't know that they do these things. So, again, we still haven't got answers to our questions. How well do you listen? How well do you listen? And how do you listen?
Right.
When you're in front of somebody? Like, are your arms folded? Are you leaning on your hand? What are you giving eye contact? Are you shaking your head? What are you doing non-verbally to allow them to know, oh, you're listening? Because all of our listening might not be the same. But we know when we're talking to this person that we are listening. That when we're doing this, when this person is doing this certain thing, that we'll see, I got sidetracked. I started thinking about what is he doing? And I got sidetracked, and that's why I said we don't multitask. We switch from one thing to the next. We do not multitask. If you learn anything from me today, you learn that we do not multitask. You feel like you are, but you are not. Your brain cannot do that. It goes from one thing to the next. It may go quickly, but it does not do both of them equally.
Right.
Okay? So, did anybody hear that?
Thank you.
We don't multitask? Okay. Thank you, lights.
Thank you, nurse.
And the other question is, what do you do non-verbally that your spouse dislikes? And have you tried to work on it, or have you noticed it, or have they said, you always, scratching your eyebrows, like, when I'm talking, is it a problem, or do you just do that? There's just itch. What's going on? And have you noticed that you do this in other conversations? So you can type your comments or questions on Facebook, or you can call us at 1-855-493-6499.
So let's look at another area of nonverbal communication too. Typing. And with the typing, there's a lot of people that there's a lot of people with the way that they type, whether it's social media, whether it's text message, their response, when you type it in all caps, No, you're not talking.
Don't do that to me.
But that's nonverbal communication.
Don't.
Now you're hollering at people, through text, or that your nonverbal communication is someone sent you a message or whatever. They know you got it, because they see that you got the message. You just chose not to respond. You just chose not to to entertain what they sent or to act as if you didn't get it. All of those things are nonverbal communications. But when we really kind of look at the grand scheme of things, it's the way that a person handles it. It's what they use. It takes in nonverbal communication. It really takes on a wide range of things, a wide range of aspects, and it has a very wide range of effects that it can have on the other person that you're communicating with. Down to eye contact, whether or not you use any of it while you're having a conversation, if you're paying any attention to, what the person is saying, your facial expressions, your gestures, your body movements, all of those things, the distance that you have between you and a person, like you can kind of tell that somebody got a problem with somebody when they used to talking a little close, a little personal, but now they kind of got that little step back, kind of like, just in case you feeling a little froggy and, you need to catch these hands, I got to make sure, I'm enough distance back where I can, either make a move or protect myself or whatever. But like all of those things are nonverbal communications, and the real problem is that nonverbal communication is probably more difficult to understand than verbal communication. And many of us already know that verbal communication don't necessarily come easy. You can hear what someone is saying, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you get it. It doesn't mean that you understand it. It doesn't mean that, you're really all in on what they're saying and you got it and you're able to, bring it back. Like you mentioned before, that effective communication is you should be able to give it back to the person because you didn't just hear them, but you were listening. And there's a difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is just having the ability to hear, but listening is the application. So sometimes we're hearing people talk, but our listening skills are horrible because there's no application to what we heard. There's no movement. There's no progress off of, the information that was shared. And that is like horrible when you've poured your heart out, especially if you're talking about someone that you love, someone you're in a relationship with, and you're in that relationship and you're trying to share with them, and you happen to share something that's very important to you, and they brush it off or treat it as if like you didn't even say anything, or they do nothing in response or in return toward the goal or the mark of what was shared to show that this is important, or how valuable what you said is. And sometimes we don't allow people to understand how valuable they are to us by how we respond to what they say. Because much of what you think of a person is betrayed in your actions, and your actions can be nonverbal. So, you can't say love is an action word. You can't say you love someone, but then your actions don't produce that. Because then you have nothing to support the words that you've spoken out of your mouth that you love, because love is a do thing. It's not a say thing. It's a do thing. It's nice to hear it from time to time, but it's really about what you do. So if you never do anything, then you can really paralyze your relationship, because you will have someone that's in this relationship with you that loves you, that's looking forward to getting things with you, from you, and you are providing nothing because your nonverbal communication skills suck. And that's reality.
That's just a grown-up word.
Yeah, beautiful. Yep.
It's great.
Yeah. So, we still got the questions on the table. How well do you listen? And what does your listening look like? What does your listening look like to your mate? Because you're not the person that's hearing. You're the person that's, you're the person that's hearing. You're not the person that's talking. So, your response to what's being said is very important, because it's on what you do and what you say. So
call in 1-855-493-6499. And if you're on Facebook, type your comments or your questions. And you can also have a conversation back to back with nothing in your hands. Talk to each other and see how well that goes. Back to back in a room. You can make the room dark if you want, but if you not Marcus, because he'll be asleep. But you know, back to back. We did this before at the conference, I think, one year, and just back to back and communicate and see what you hear. You know, with nothing around, no TV on, no radio, just back to back with your spouse. Your back to their back and talk. One thing it does is gives you the illusion of, yes, they always have my back. And two, you really got to listen. You have to listen. You have to be a present listener. Sometimes we're not present, you know, or they feel like we're not present because of the facial expressions or the body gestures that we are doing.
Yeah. So, all right, let's look at some of the responses that we have. It's hard to start a conversation with my husband because he gives me this face that makes me not want to continue because I know it's not going to go well. And yeah, that can be discouraging. Yes, that can be discouraging, you know, and make you not want to continue. But sometimes as the, you know, delivery person, you know, I kind of always try to bring analogies to things because I think it helps it to be more understandable. But like I kind of view communication like being a mail carrier. And so although you have to communicate this information, and although who you're communicating it to may not be the most welcoming, it doesn't mean that mail isn't delivered that day. So as the mail carrier, even though it's cold, even though it's snowing, even though it's raining, my job is to get the mail to the mailbox, and the mailbox being the person. And I have not done my job well if I'm not able to get it there. And that takes self-control. And oftentimes we don't focus on our self-control. We focus on the response that we get from the other person, the person that we're delivering the mail to. I cannot control the house that I deliver the mail to. I only can control how I deliver the mail. And so if I utilize my self-control and I recognize that this is not a safe environment at the moment, then I need to walk gently so that I don't slip on this ice. I need to, you know, be careful where I'm walking or where I'm stepping or how I'm walking or how I'm stepping, but I still have the responsibility to deliver the mail. And so sometimes with that communication factor that we're trying to present, it can, you know, help you to do better in your presentation, and sometimes even setting it up, assessing it, you know, finding out, is this the best time to have this conversation? You know, do we do better having conversations in the morning than we do at night? Or do we do better having them in the middle of the day? Or do we do better having them by telephone than in person? Do we do better by text message than we do by phone conversation? But you know, you have to find the way in order for your communication with your mate to be effective, and you have to find out how to make your communication effective. You can't make theirs. They have to do that homework on their own. But if you make your communication effective, then hopefully with your delivery and with the information that you provide, it will help them to get involved and to want to, you know, be a part and participate with it. So,
and you probably have done this, but just for anybody else, you can just ask, like, what does that mean when you do that? This right here, what does that face mean? Are you okay? Is everything okay? What I'm saying? Do we need to stop, talk about something else? Do you need to express something to me so you can change that face? Then we can go on with what we are talking about or what you're talking about. And I see your next comment. It says, I tell him I'm going to start recording him so he can see what I see. And that may work. Like, if you just record not while he knows or while he's looking, because then he's going to be aware of it, of what he's doing, even if it was reversed. But just a camera or your phone just sitting up recording the conversation,
Right.
and then later watch it. Like, yep, and this is the face I'm talking about right here. So if you don't know what you're doing, but you can see that face later, like, oh, I don't really mean no harm. I need to be aware of that, the fact that I'm doing that. So I think that is a good idea.
Right.
Everybody gonna be setting their cameras
I
up
know,
tonight,
right?
and we're like, yeah, can't wait. You
But
gonna see it tonight, boy.
But it also will help you to see yourself, because sometimes, I know sometimes I will think that I did something, or I will think that something was bad, or that, like, especially because, like I do music and stuff. So sometimes you can listen back to a recording, or you can watch a video, and something that I may have thought was terrible, when I watch the video or when I listen to the audio, I'm like, oh, that wasn't bad. Or it actually was much better than what I thought. But that was just the way that I thought about it. Or in some instances, I thought, oh man, that was great. And then, you listen back and you're like, man, we should just throw the whole thing away. But you know what I'm saying? Like, those are, you will be able to not only see the other person, but you get to see yourself too. So, and it doesn't have to be a thing of spying. It could really just be an exercise that you do, just for the both of you to really pay attention to the way that you communicate. That we just going to sit this here and record our dialogue, not necessarily because we're trying to find something, but just so that we can see what our communication looks like.
Yeah.
So we can see how well we interact in our communication, our nonverbal communication, along with the way that we present the information. Am I using my hands too much? Am I putting my hands in your face while I'm talking? Or, you know what I mean? Am I raising my voice? Or like, what is it that I'm doing so that I can see, so I can improve me? You know what I mean? But likewise, to see what reactions and responses I get from you when I do certain things, it will help me to be a better delivery person.
Right. Like I said earlier, for those of you who weren't on in the beginning, that me and Marcus just started doing each other.
Right.
While your spouse is talking, just do what they do while you're talking, and see what happens. And all of this is not bad.
Right.
It's funny. Actually, the other day we was crying laughing because you just don't realize you do this stuff. I'm like, I really do this stuff. You know.
You don't even know you have habits.
You don't even know. It could just be anything, like shaking my leg. My dad used to always say, like, it's not right. My grandmother told me, somebody shaking their legs like that, something ain't right. Something ain't right with you. There's nothing wrong with me. I was pregnant several times, so I had to shake them babies. Like, I think that's why I shake my legs, because I haven't done that for a long time. So I don't know though, but I don't even get it. Or, I'll rock and Marcus will be like, Rocky, where's Bullwinkle? Just crazy stuff that I'm like, I do this all the time, and other people are probably like, what is wrong with her? She's shaking, she rocking. Is everything okay? Do we have to be on guard? So these are just things that you do that your spouse has they don't know why you do it. They just know she always do that. Now, some of y'all are very in tune with each other. I will say that, because you could tell me, okay, go ask him or go ask her. This is what they gonna do. They gonna be like, blow, put their hand in their right pocket, take it out, and then give you an answer. Whatever. Some of y'all are very in tune, and you know what that means, and that's great. And maybe you want to comment and say, how did you get that way? Did you ask what this means? Did you just say, I ain't worried about it because I'm going to tell you what I got to tell you, no matter what type of communication you give me? But we need to know, in certain instances, like, the comment, we need to know, why are you doing this? Because it's affecting my communication with you.
Right.
And if you're doing something that's affecting the communication, then you need to either notice what you're doing, or bring it to the light so you can change it, or try not to. But if you don't know, some of these things I have no clue that I do. No clue. I've probably lost 7 friends. I have no clue that I do some of these things that I do when people are talking. But and the crazy thing for me is that, being a nurse, I don't do anything. When patients are talking to me, I give them eye contact. I don't make faces, because they tell me some stuff, like, I hear all types of things. I don't make faces when I see different things on people, or wounds or stuff like that. I don't make faces. Even in my mind is saying, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? I don't do that, but I'm very aware of my body language there. When I'm not, you know, in that role, I'm just who I am. And
Right.
it's just like, oh, I really do all these things. Amazing. So, the questions are still out there. You can please type your comments. You're going to help somebody. Please. Every week, somebody helps somebody with their comments. Trust me, guys. Every week, somebody does with their comments, with their questions. There's somebody out there who can't make a comment or who can't ask a question because their spouse is listening or their spouse is looking. So please call in 1-855-493-6499, or you can put your comments and your questions on Facebook. The questions are: how well do you listen?
Mm-hmm.
And are there what type of listener are you? What are you doing? Are you giving eye contact? What are you doing? And how if are there nonverbal gestures that your spouse dislikes that you are working on or you notice have triggered over into your other relationships, and that may not be so favorable, and are you trying to change it up? What are you trying to do to fix that? There's another thing another just example, when you are like, I have a computer every day all day. So when I'm with someone and I have a computer and I'm typing on my computer, again, we don't multitask. You know, I hear what they're saying. I'm typing what they're telling me. Right. But there are some people, particularly my older patients, that I can't do that with because they will not talk, because they don't understand. To them, I'm ignoring them.
Right.
They don't care that I'm typing what they're saying into the computer. Right. So to them, I need to listen to the whole story and then I need to go and do it. And that is a communication that I had to learn, because you also have to learn how you can get your work done and get your document done as well. But you want to be effective, and I want to be effective with every person I'm with, including my spouse. Mm-hmm. So if you want to be an effective communicator with your spouse, you have to learn what these nonverbal things are that you're doing that may cause problems, or just start doing each other. I'm telling you, it's gonna make you laugh.
It definitely
it's gonna make you laugh. Sometimes they're gonna say, no, I don't do that. I do not do that. Somebody might have got up and went and flushed the toilet 2 times while you talking. Who knows? Like, people do things and don't realize. You get up and you walk around your kitchen, you go back into your living room, you sit down. Like, what did you do that for?
Right.
You don't know. You just do these things. You know what I'm saying? So you go to the door and check the door, look out the window while somebody's talking to you, come back, sit down, listen to them all the time. But people don't know. Why do you get up and walk around while someone is talking? But you have to ask, like, what's going on? So, you can call in 1-855-493-6499 or type your comments on Facebook.
So, this nonverbal communication piece is very big, because nonverbal communication really is, the start of foreplay. And a lot of people, are trying to figure out why some things are not as great as they could be. And this is not just, about sex, but I'm just saying in the aspect of foreplay, period, because foreplay does not have to, every foreplay moment doesn't have to end in sex. It can be a part of the building block. And so, but your nonverbal communication is big in that. So like, for instance, if you're a person that thinks like every moment of foreplay has to end in sex, then if there's a foreplay moment that doesn't end in sex, then your nonverbal communication is going to be disappointment. Mm-hmm. Your nonverbal communication is going to be upset. Mm-hmm. And then that's going to change the whole meaning behind what happened, because now it's going to have someone questioning, what you said, what you did. Did you really mean that? Or were you only doing that because you were looking for a happy ending? And so, now that has the potential to make me second guess your entire presentation, the things that you said or the things that you did, because now was there a motive behind it, or were you doing it because you really cared about me? Were you really doing it because you really love me? Or those kinds of things are very important, and so that all plays a part. The atmospheres that you set and that you allow things to happen in, that's all a part of your nonverbal communication. So, you can expect to get You can't expect to get a seed that you planted, a flower, to grow out of something that you have not actually been watering. If you haven't provided any sunlight to it, if you haven't, given it any rays of sunshine. So like a lot of these things, our nonverbal communication has destroyed, literally, so many things. It literally has harmed our relationships. And the real challenge is that most of it has not been verbally communicated. The nonverbal actions in the nonverbal communication, in the damage that the nonverbal communication has done, has not been fully communicated verbally by your mate. And I promise you that none of us really know the significance of our nonverbal communication and what it has actually done to our relationships in whatever aspect. There's some things that you don't even recognize that it's doing good. It's helping you out. It's making, the day better. It's, all of that. And so, like my wife and I, we were on the way here to the station. We were talking about a few things, and so there was a nonverbal gesture that I did, not in the car, but it was something that I did earlier in the day, and I told her about it, but it completely changed her demeanor because she felt considered. She felt like I thought about her. She felt that I saw her. I recognized something that she was doing or dealing with or whatever the case. And so my reaction or response to it, was very welcoming to her, because it was just like, wow, I didn't know that you were thinking like that or that you saw that or whatever. But that was a nonverbal communication moment. It was something that I saw and I reacted and I did it. But when I reacted and did it, she didn't know. I told her about it, or I could have waited and just showed her. But either way, that was nonverbal communication that I did not really know the effect that it would have. It was just what I thought should be done in a situation like that. But that's something that turned out to be positive. But at the same token, there are things that I did with, like we talked about this before, that sometimes our intentions and our production are not the same thing. I intended for this to be something that was going to make you smile, but at the close of what I did, it turned out to be something that made you cry. And so it's like, well, my intentions wasn't to hurt you. My intentions wasn't to get smart. My intentions were, that's fine that was your intentions. But the reality is all of those things you did, that wasn't what you were planning on doing. But, that's serious. And we have to figure out how we can make this stuff better. How can we make our nonverbal communication better? How can we be a better listener? How can we be more attentive? And the great thing is you have a partner in your relationship, so you have somewhere to practice. Yeah. And as a result of you making your relationship better, it's going to make your business life better. It's going to make your family life better. It's going to make your relationship with your friends better, because you have someone in your relationship that allows you to build and to make things, right, or to make things better. So all of that is helpful and beneficial, and it gives you the things that you need to see and know that will make your relationship better. So I really want us to be able to work on our nonverbal communication, because if we do that, I really think that we will have better relationships across the board, everywhere, all of our relationships, because honestly, it starts with our self-control.
Yeah. Definitely.
Starts with our self-control.
And it starts with being aware.
Right.
Being aware of what you're doing, your body, your movements, your facial expressions, different things like that, your head nods or not. So why don't you answer the questions? Since nobody wants to call in today, 1-855-493-6499. But you can answer the questions.
All right. So I have stages in my listening. I have stages in my listening.
This is going to be great, guys.
I can be a horrible listener, and I can be a great listener. But it depends on where I am mentally, and it depends on what the situation is. It depends on, where I am emotionally at the time. All of that plays a part in what side of the listening aisle I'm on. Some of the good in my listening is I'm going to let you finish, because I want you to get it all out. That way I'm not I'm not making anything up. I'm not putting any words in your mouth. I'm not interrupting you. I'm allowing you to complete your thought. But in that, I want to make sure that I hear you clearly, so when I respond, it's from a holistic place and not from, well, let me just jump on this point.
Thank you for
and do
tuning
that.
in
So,
to the Couples Corner with Team
Our
Bevy.
time is
We're
up,
glad
guys.
that you stopped by and
I bet
shared
you
your
like
time.
that, huh?
Yeah, that was great.
Look forward to seeing you
So maybe we will have a part 2 next week about this, so he can finish his questions. But we want to thank y'all for watching. We will be praying for you, pray for us,
that you shared your
and
time
we will
with
see
us.
you on
Now we've got to go, but
week.
we look forward to connecting with you again here on the Couples Corner with Team Bevy.
appreciate y'all.
Have a great night.